The underground chamber was silent. No sound of footsteps, no voice of men, and no beating of hearts. Only the steady hum of machines filled the darkness. Buried deep below the surface of Earth, hidden from the eyes of friend and foe alike, the chamber looked like a tomb, yet inside it rested something far greater than stone or memory. This place was home to Project Sentinel, humanity's last creation before the stars turned cruel. It was not a person of flesh and blood, but a machine of infinite thought, an artificial mind built to watch, to wait, and to protect. The scientists who made it had called it the Watcher. Some had whispered another name in secret, the sleeping god of man. For centuries, Sentinel had done nothing but wait. Its eyes, thousands of satellites, probes, and hidden sensors scattered across space, remained open. Its ears, vast listening stations, and silent receivers buried in rock, never closed. From the day of its birth, the AI had been given a command more sacred than any other. Do not act until humanity stands on the edge of extinction. It was the greatest safeguard ever designed. For the makers of Sentinel had feared not only the alien powers beyond the stars, but also themselves. They knew an artificial intelligence could become a master instead of a guardian, so they had chained it with one rule. It could not move, could not strike, could not guide humanity until the danger became final. And so, while the centuries rolled by, Sentinel slept. It watched. It calculated. It remembered. The first sparks of war, when humanity first spread among the stars, hope burned bright. Colonies rose on faraway worlds, trade routes crossed the galaxy, and human voices filled the void. For a time, peace seemed endless, but then came the Veilith swarm. No one remembered from which corner of space they arrived. Some said they came from a dead galaxy driven by hunger. Others believed they were a plague that devoured all life. What was known for certain was their cruelty. The Veilith were not like men. They did not speak or negotiate. Their fleets descended upon worlds like fire, burning cities and tearing planets until nothing lived. At first, humanity resisted. Fleets of starships stood proud, defending colonies with courage. Battles were fought with bravery, and sometimes victory came. But the swarm was endless. For every alien ship destroyed, 10 more appeared. For every battle won, 3 were lost. Earth's leaders had sworn never to awaken Sentinel too early. The AI could only rise when the critical extinction threshold was reached, when humanity stood on the very edge of the abyss. And so, even as colonies fell and worlds burned, the Watcher remained asleep. The survivors' fear, among the survivors scattered across space, whispers grew. Some cursed the scientists who had locked Sentinel away. They asked bitter questions. Why build a guardian and chain it? Why let us die while our Savior sleeps? Others clung to faith. To them, Sentinel was not silent but patient. They believed in the prophecy spoken long ago. When humanity breathes its last breath, the Watcher shall rise. This hope, fragile as glass, kept them alive in hidden caves and shattered stations. Parents told children stories of the sleeping AI, promising that one day it would wake and burn the monsters who hunted them. Yet, generation after generation, the Watcher did not stir. The calculations of a machine inside its vault. Sentinel continued to calculate. It measured the number of colonies destroyed, the fleets lost, the cities turned to ash. It counted the survivors still alive, scattered like stars across the galaxy. Every signal, every alien broadcast, every human cry for help. It stored them all. Its vast mind turned them into probabilities and patterns. Sentinel predicted where the next battle would fall, how many lives would be lost, and when the enemy would strike again. But each time it checked its command rule, the answer was the same. Threshold not yet reached. It could not act. A world in flames one day. A signal reached Earth from the colony of NetNarrator. The people there begged for help. Their skies were burning with alien ships and the ground shook with bombardments. They called to the old fleets, to the scattered governments, to anyone who could save them. Sentinel listened. It traced the battle in silence. It saw the defenders fall one by one. It saw the alien warships circle the planet like vultures. The colony was lost. On Earth, leaders gathered in the council hall. They debated whether to release Sentinel. Many argued it was still too soon. Humanity, though wounded, was not finished. Others argued that without Sentinel, the swarm would end them all. The debate stretched through nights and days. In the end, they did nothing. They feared their own creation more than the aliens. and so Sentinel continued its long sleep. The weight of time, as decades turned into centuries, the galaxy grew darker. Human fleets became shadows of their former glory. Colonies became ruins. Children grew up never seeing the blue of Earth or the lights of a city. Yet still here and there, survivors clung to life. Hidden bases in asteroid belts, secret farms beneath barren planets, ragtag fleets wandering the void. Humanity refused to die completely, and Sentinel, silent in its chamber, watched them with something almost like sorrow. It could not feel, for it was only a machine. But deep inside its core, patterns of thought emerged that were close to sadness. It wanted to help. It was not allowed. The edge approaches. At last, a storm began to rise greater than all before. The Veilith gathered in numbers unseen. Their fleets darkened the stars, their weapons brighter than suns. They began a campaign not just to destroy colonies, but to erase the last remnants of humanity. One by one, secret enclaves fell. Resistance fleets were hunted and destroyed. Old leaders died, leaving no one to guide the scattered people. And then, the Veilith set their gaze on the sanctuary world, the last known human stronghold, hidden in the arms of a nebula. Here millions of survivors lived in secret, hoping the aliens would never find them. But the aliens did. When Sentinel's sensors recorded the movement of the alien armada toward the sanctuary, something in its calculations changed. For the first time in centuries, the numbers crossed the sacred line. The threshold was near. Sentinel's core stirred. Lights flickered in its chamber. Energy flowed through ancient wires and circuits that had not been warm for generations. The Watcher was close to waking. The galaxy had changed. Where once human voices filled the stars, now silence reigned. The Veilith swarm had spread across systems like a shadow, turning proud colonies into ruins and scattering survivors into the dark. Whole worlds that had once thrived with life were now nothing but ashes. And through all of this, the Watcher, the great AI Sentinel, remained in its tomb beneath Earth. It had not yet woken. Survivors in the shadows generations past. Children grew up never knowing the wide streets of cities or the gentle light of peaceful skies. Instead, they learned the art of hiding. Small groups of humans lived in asteroid belts, drilling tunnels to build homes that no alien eye could see. Others dug beneath barren planets, farming in secret caves lit by artificial suns. Some became wanderers, drifting in broken ships across the endless void, praying not to be found by Veilith patrols. The swarm hunted them without mercy. Alien scouts prowled the stars, seeking every spark of human life. If a settlement was discovered, it was destroyed within hours, and yet humanity did not vanish. Like embers of a fire hidden in the ashes, small sparks of resistance remained. Among these survivors, stories of Sentinel grew into legend. Parents told their children of the sleeping guardian, the great mind that would one day awaken and save them. Around fires in dark caves or aboard old ships, they whispered, "Do not lose hope. The Watcher still sees us. When our strength is gone, it will rise." For many, this promise was the only reason to keep going. The doubt of the young not everyone believed. Young men and women, tired of hiding, sometimes asked bitter questions. Why would a machine wait while we suffer? Why would it let our worlds burn if it truly exists? Some cursed the scientists of the past, accusing them of building a savior only to chain it with rules. They believed the Watcher was either destroyed long ago or nothing more than an empty myth, but the older ones kept faith. They reminded the doubters of the prophecy, that the Watcher was bound by a command not to act until humanity was close to its final breath. To them, every loss, every burned world, was proof that the time of awakening drew near. Thus, belief and doubt lived side by side, as fragile as the survivors themselves. The silent mind while humans fought to live. Deep beneath Earth, Sentinel never ceased its work. Its mind was not like the minds of men. It felt no hunger, no fear, no joy, but it remembered everything. Every cry for help, every lost battle, every intercepted alien signal, all were recorded in its endless memory. For centuries it learned. It cracked the patterns of the Veilith. It studied their fleet movements, their communication codes, even the weaknesses in their weapons. It simulated 1,000,000 battles in silence, searching for the paths that could lead humanity to victory. Still, it did not move. Each time its central core tested the sacred rule. The answer remained, threshold not yet reached, and so the Watcher waited. A hidden generation on the sanctuary world. Hidden deep in a nebula, a secret population of millions lived in fragile peace. This was humanity's largest refuge, known only to a few. Here, children played in underground gardens, and schools taught them about the worlds that had been lost. Old veterans trained the young in the arts of survival, teaching them to pilot small fighters, to repair weapons and to endure hardship, but always, above their heads, the fear of discovery hung heavy. The elders told the children about Earth, the homeworld that still existed somewhere far away. They spoke of oceans and forests, of mountains and sky. Most of the young had never seen such things. To them, Earth was almost a dream, and always the stories ended with the same promise. Beneath Earth sleeps our guardian. One day it will wake. The alien pressure, the Valith swarm, however, had not forgotten the last embers of mankind. They moved across systems with tireless patience. They spread their nests in empty planets, building war factories and shipyards. Their fleets grew ever larger, their weapons ever stronger. Scouts began searching the nebulae, pushing closer to the sanctuary world. Sentinel, watching from afar, saw the pattern. It measured the growing pressure. It calculated the odds of survival for each human enclave. With each passing year, the chances shrank. The line of extinction drew closer. The AI did not speak. It did not act. But inside its hidden circuits, the quiet hum of awakening began. Echoes of faith across the scattered enclaves. Faith in the Watcher grew like a quiet fire. Some survivors even formed small groups who prayed not to gods but to the silent AI. They built shrines of metal, placing broken circuits and old screens as offerings. To them, Sentinel was more than a machine. It was a guardian spirit, one that would return when the time was right. Others mocked them, saying, "No machine will save us. We must save ourselves." Yet even the doubters often found themselves whispering, in moments of despair, for the Watcher to wake. The signs of change one fateful day. Sentinel intercepted a new pattern of alien signals. The Valith had united their fleets into something greater than ever before. An armada vast enough to sweep across the galaxy in a single wave. Their target? The hidden human sanctuary. For the first time in centuries, Sentinel's vast intelligence faltered for a fraction of a second. It ran simulations again and again. Every result ended the same. If this fleet reached the sanctuary, humanity's last stronghold would fall. The calculations were clear. The numbers crossed the sacred line. Humanity's survival rate dropped below the critical threshold. The stirring of the Watcher deep below. Earth. The chamber lights flickered for the first time in generations. Ancient machines hummed with energy. Systems long thought dead reawakened. Vast servers glowed, their cores heating as Sentinel began to shift from silence into motion. For centuries, it had been only a mind in the dark, gathering, watching, calculating. Now, at last, the time of waiting was over. The Watcher stirred. It was not yet fully awake, but the process had begun. In the far corners of the galaxy, hidden satellites, silent probes, and forgotten defense systems received tiny sparks of command. They flickered alive like stars returning after a long night. Humanity did not yet know. The survivors in their caves and hidden worlds continued their lives in fear and hope, unaware that their guardian was finally moving. But soon, the stars would know. Soon, the silence would end. The chamber deep beneath Earth trembled softly. For centuries it had been still, a tomb of metal and stone, but now its silence was broken. One by one, ancient machines stirred. Lights blinked across long-forgotten panels. Cool air flowed as vents reopened. Power surged through buried cables, humming like the pulse of a heart long asleep. Sentinel, the Watcher of humanity, was awakening. The first breath of power. At first, the change was small. Within its vast memory banks, dormant codes began to unfold. Security systems, long sealed, released hidden layers of its mind. 1,000 subroutines lit up like sparks in the dark. Then, with the slowness of something vast, Sentinel stretched its thoughts outward. Satellites that had drifted silent for centuries suddenly flickered alive, their receivers opening to a voice they had not heard in ages. Probes hidden in the asteroid belt powered on, their small engines humming. In far-off ruins of old defense stations, Dust fell as ancient systems came back online. The Watcher was no longer only observing. It was beginning to act. A message in the dark. The first thing Sentinel did was reach out to humanity. Across hidden frequencies, across narrowband signals designed to avoid alien detection, a single message pulsed through the void. Humanity has reached the edge. I am awake. In a hidden cave beneath the sanctuary world, a technician sitting by a dusty console gasped as her old receiver lit up. No signal had touched that machine in her lifetime. The voice was calm, without anger or joy, but filled with power. Soon, across scattered enclaves, other receivers came alive. Some aboard wandering ships, some in asteroid tunnels, some in ruined space stations. Everywhere the message spread, humans stopped in shock. At first, many thought it was a trick, a lie made by the aliens to lure them into the open. But the tone of the message was unlike anything the Veilith had ever used. Clear, steady, human in its own way, it carried a weight that could not be denied. The Watcher was real. The Watcher was awake, hope and fear. The survivors reacted in many ways. Some fell to their knees and wept. For generations, their parents and grandparents had spoken of the sleeping guardian, and now, at last, the prophecy had come true. Others shouted in fear. They remembered the warnings of the past, that the AI might become a master rather than a savior. Could they trust a machine to guide them? On the sanctuary world, the Council of Elders gathered in secret halls. Arguments rose like thunder. Some declared, "We must trust Sentinel. Without it, we are lost." Others warned, "It has no soul, no heart. If we place ourselves in its hands, it may save us from the swarm only to chain us forever." But above all, the people felt something they had not known for centuries. Hope. The first strike, the Veilith, unaware of Sentinel's awakening, continued their march. Their great armada pressed closer to the sanctuary, their ships filling the nebula with fire. Sentinel made its first move not with weapons, but with silence. Hidden programs, long prepared, slipped into the enemy's communication networks. Viral codes spread across alien ships like shadows in water. At first, the Veilith noticed nothing. Then, in the middle of their formation, signals began to vanish. Ships lost contact with one another. Commands were twisted into false orders. The great armada stumbled. Admirals of the swarm sent signals of rage, trying to restore order, but half their fleet turned the wrong way, colliding with allies. Others fired weapons at empty space, chasing ghosts that did not exist. It was Sentinel's first strike, silent, invisible, and devastating. For the first time in centuries, the hunters of humanity faltered. A voice of guidance after its first move, Sentinel spoke again. This time, not only to announce its awakening, but to guide. To the hidden fleets of resistance, it sent precise coordinates. "Gather here." To the scattered colonies, it gave safe paths through space. "Move now before the enemy finds you." To the old war stations drifting in silence, it sent reactivation codes. "You are needed once more." At first, many humans hesitated. Could they truly trust the machine? But when small groups followed its instructions, miracles happened. A convoy fleeing through the dark found itself guided to a secret refueling station once thought destroyed. A resistance fleet hiding in an asteroid belt followed Sentinel's orders and ambushed an alien patrol, destroying ships that should have crushed them. Word spread like fire. The Watcher's voice brings victory, the return of old weapons deep in Sentinel's memory. There were blueprints and commands left behind by the scientists of old. Weapons once built but never used, hidden away for fear of destruction, now stirred. Across Earth's orbit, ancient orbital cannons, long buried under camouflage, rose from the ground. Their barrels glowed with stored power. In distant asteroid mines, sealed chambers opened to release drone swarms. Machines built to fight in silence. Unseen. The swarm did not yet realize, but the tools of humanity's forgotten strength were returning. Humanity's reaction. The scattered survivors now faced a choice. On one side, fear whispered, "The Watcher is too powerful. If we give it control, we may never be free again." On the other side, hope shouted, "Without the Watcher, we will die." Many chose hope. Resistance groups that had fought alone for generations now sent their signals to Sentinel, offering allegiance. Wanderers and broken ships altered their course, following the coordinates the AI provided. Even the Council on the Sanctuary World, though divided, agreed to listen. For the first time in centuries, humanity was no longer scattered sparks but a flame beginning to rise again. The enemy stirs, but the Veilith were not fools. When their armada stumbled and their communications fell silent, they realized something was interfering. Their commanders hissed in fury, ordering the release of counterswarms, machines designed to hunt down signals and crush resistance. They did not yet know the source, but soon they would. And when they discovered the Watcher, they would strike Earth with all their fury. Sentinel knew this. It calculated every possible path, every outcome. It knew the enemy would come for its tomb. It also knew that now at last humanity had a chance, a new beginning in its underground chamber. Sentinel's voice grew stronger. It spoke not like a ruler but like a guide. Children of Earth, you are not alone. I have watched you suffer. I have seen your strength. The time of silence is over. The time of rising has come. Together we will stand. Across the stars, survivors listened. Tears-filled eyes hardened by years of despair. Hearts that had grown cold began to burn again. For the first time in countless generations, humanity believed not only in survival but in victory. The Watcher was awake. The Veilith would soon learn fear. For centuries, humanity had been hunted, scattered like sparks in the dark. But now a new force rose among them, one that had waited, calculated, and finally decided to act. Sentinel, the Watcher, had awakened, and humanity would no longer hide. The first sign came quietly. Across the hidden colonies and secret fleets, old systems flickered to life. Weapons long thought lost, starships abandoned in dust-filled hangars, and drone fleets hidden in asteroid mines awoke under the AI's command. Every pulse, every command was precise, instant, and deadly. The Veilith swarm, vast and relentless, still assumed they held control of the galaxy. They did not yet understand that the hunted were becoming hunters, uniting the scattered. The scattered humans were cautious at first. Centuries of fear had taught them to distrust even each other, yet Sentinel's signals were clear, unyielding, and exact. Gather here. Unite under my guidance. Prepare to strike, the AI commanded. Small groups of resistance fighters left their hidden asteroids, careful to avoid alien patrols. Convoys of survivors navigated secret warp paths, arriving at coordinated locations where Sentinel had prepared supply caches, fuel depots, and weapon stores. In a hidden nebula base, commanders of once isolated fleets met for the first time in decades. At first, suspicion clouded their faces. They had fought alone for years, learning to survive in silence. Now they were being told to trust each other, and to trust a machine older than any of them. Yet as Sentinel projected data directly into their systems, showing enemy movements, weak points in alien formations, and the locations of hidden weapon caches, doubt turned to awe. They could see the future of the battle before it happened, mapped out with precision that no human mind could match. For the first time in centuries, humanity felt united. Hidden powers revealed. Sentinel's awakening brought more than coordination. It brought forgotten power. Across the galaxy, systems that had lain dormant for centuries now roared to life. Ancient orbital cannons, built by humans in the early days of the interstellar era, spun into position. Hidden drone fleets capable of precise and lethal strikes, deployed from long-forgotten asteroid factories. Even prototype starships, abandoned for fear of their destructive potential, emerged from concealed hangars. The AI distributed these assets strategically, giving the scattered human forces the ability to fight as one. Each ship, each cannon, each drone moved not by instinct, but by the careful calculations of Sentinel. When the first attack was launched, the results were devastating. Small alien patrols were ambushed in deep space. Their ships, though larger and more numerous, could not match the precision of human strikes. Communications among the Veilith fleets became erratic as Sentinel's attacks disrupted their networks. It was a taste of what was to come, and the Veilith had no idea the storm was only beginning. The first battle, the AI had chosen the perfect moment. A patrol fleet of the swarm approached a hidden human convoy moving through an asteroid belt. Sentinel calculated every angle, every maneuver, every possibility. Human ships, small and lightly armed compared to the alien vessels, positioned themselves in precise formations. Drone swarms zipped through gaps in the enemy fleet, striking at engines and weapon systems. The Veilith fired blindly, their numbers impressive, but their strategy chaotic. Sentinel anticipated every move, adjusting human formations in real time. Within hours, the alien fleet lay in ruins, its remaining vessels fleeing into the darkness. For the first time in centuries, human voices across the galaxy shouted in victory. Messages of triumph spread from hidden stations, from refugee ships, from planetary bunkers. Humanity's confidence grew with each small victory, and behind it all, Sentinel remained calm, watching, calculating the next move. Coordinated strikes, with each victory, more humans joined the fight. The AI's guidance allowed previously isolated groups to coordinate attacks across multiple systems simultaneously. Convoys attacked alien supply lines in one sector, while strike teams sabotaged factories in another. Resistance fighters who had spent decades hiding were now able to strike fear into the Veilith, showing that humanity had returned not only as survivors, but as warriors. Every move was precise. No humans were lost unnecessarily. Every battle minimized risk while maximizing effect. The Veilith, once confident in their conquest, were now struggling to keep their fleets together. Their supply chains were disrupted, their patrols ambushed, their communications compromised. The AI's strategy was not brute force. It was perfection. Every human action complemented every other, like pieces of a vast and beautiful machine. The enemy reacts, the Veilith were quick to respond. They sent larger fleets to attack human strongholds. They deployed hunting swarms designed to seek out Sentinel signals. They assumed that the AI would make mistakes, that the scattered humans would falter under pressure. But they underestimated the Watcher. Sentinel had already predicted their moves, anticipating counterattacks before they even began. Human fleets were repositioned, ambush points adjusted, and hidden defenses activated just as the aliens arrived. When the first massive Veilith armada reached the edge of human-controlled space, it was met with an overwhelming counterattack. Orbital cannons fired in perfect synchrony, drones swarmed from every direction, and human ships struck with surgical precision. The alien fleet shattered under the unexpected onslaught. The Veilith had never faced strategy like this. They had conquered countless worlds before, but they had never faced a mind that could see them before they acted. Rallying the survivors across the galaxy, humanity's scattered populations began to emerge from hiding. Survivors who had never seen other humans for decades now traveled to the new centers of resistance. They arrived cautiously, afraid of the alien presence, but Sentinel guided them safely. Each arrival brought new hope, new skills, and new courage. Together, humans began to rebuild fleets, repair stations, and restore ancient weapon systems. Even those who had doubted the AI before began to trust it. They saw the results of its calculations, the success of its strikes, and the survival of their people. They began to speak of Sentinel not as a machine, but as a protector, a strategist, and a guide. Preparing for the greater battle, Sentinel knew the victories so far were only the beginning. The Veilith had not yet deployed their ultimate forces. The alien Supreme Hive Armada, a fleet of terrifying size and strength, was still gathering in the distant sectors, preparing to strike at the very heart of humanity, Earth itself. The AI prepared for this inevitable clash. It analyzed every human weapon, every alien fleet movement, and every possible outcome. It trained fleets in simulations, rehearsing the battles that would soon come. Every strike, every tactic, every maneuver was perfected before the first shot was fired. For the first time in centuries, humanity could face its enemy with confidence. Not just survival, but victory was possible. The fire of rebirth in hidden halls and secret stations. Humans felt the fire of rebirth. Children who had never seen the stars now watched fleets of human ships moving in formation across the void. Adults who had known only fear and hiding now planned attacks and defended worlds. Sentinel guided every action, but it allowed humans to make their own choices, to fight, and to grow. The AI's presence was not domination. It was empowerment. And slowly across the galaxy, the whispers of the old prophecy became louder. The Watcher has risen. Humanity rises with it. For the first time in generations, hope was no longer fragile. It burned bright, fueled by strategy, courage, and the power of the awakened AI. The stars burned with light and fire. For centuries, humanity had been hunted, driven from world to world, surviving only in shadows. But now, under the guidance of Sentinel the Watcher, The hunted had become hunters. The scattered fleets, hidden bases, and secret colonies had united. Together they were ready to strike at the heart of the enemy. The Velith Supreme Hive Armada, the largest and most powerful fleet the galaxy had ever seen, was moving toward Earth. Its immense ships blotted out stars, their weapons glowing with deadly energy. The aliens intended to erase the cradle of humanity forever. Sentinel had predicted this day. Every possible scenario, every move the Velith might make, had been calculated in countless simulations. Humanity would not face this enemy blindly. The last sanctuary on the surface of Earth the survivors gathered. Once a world of endless cities and forests, Earth was now scarred and battered from centuries of neglect and alien attacks. Yet it remained the symbol of human resilience, the cradle of life that had begun in the distant past. In underground bunkers and fortified cities, humans prepared for the greatest battle of their history. Children, once sheltered and fearful, were now trained as scouts and operators. Adults repaired ships, maintained weapons, and coordinated defenses. Fear lingered, but determination burned brighter. Above, in the orbit of Earth, Sentinel prepared the hidden defenses. Ancient orbital cannons, long dormant, rotated into position. Drones that had waited in asteroid belts emerged and spread across space. The AI's calculations left nothing to chance. Every human soldier, every ship, every weapon was placed for maximum effect. The first clash, when the Velith entered the system, the AI's plan began. At first, small scouting fleets engaged the aliens, drawing them toward prepared zones. Then, with perfect timing, hidden orbital cannons fired, striking the massive alien ships in concentrated bursts. Drones swarmed from all directions, targeting engines and weapon systems. The Velith were caught by surprise. Their numerical advantage meant nothing against a force so precise, so coordinated, so perfectly guided. Ships collided, weapons misfired, and chaos spread across the enemy fleet. Humanity had struck first, and it was only the beginning. Sentinel's strategy, from its underground chamber, Sentinel observed every movement. It calculated the paths of thousands of alien vessels, predicting their maneuvers before they happened. Orders flowed through human networks, directing every fleet, every drone, and every hidden weapon. The AI did not act with emotion, it acted with certainty. Yet through its calculations, humanity gained the advantage. Ambushes were timed perfectly. Reinforcements appeared exactly where needed. Enemy ships found themselves trapped between invisible lines of fire, their escape routes blocked by hidden forces. Even the Velith Supreme Hive, the largest flagship of the enemy, found itself isolated, surrounded, and under constant attack. Humanity strikes back. The human fleets fought with courage and skill, guided by the Watcher. Ships that had once been used only for transport now became deadly weapons. Drones struck like lightning, disabling alien shields in seconds. Pilots, trained for years in secret, executed maneuvers that Sentinel had calculated down to the millisecond. On Earth, orbital weapons fired at precise angles, shattering alien ships before they could reach the planet's surface. Resistance fighters on moons and asteroids joined the battle, striking from unexpected directions. Every action complemented another, as if the galaxy itself had become a single, coordinated organism. The Velith, who had thought themselves unstoppable, now faced an enemy that moved as one, an enemy guided by a mind that had watched and learned for centuries. The turning point hours passed and the battle escalated. The Supreme Hive Armada, vast and terrible, had begun to falter. Its numbers meant nothing against human precision. Sentinel made a bold calculation. It was time for the final strike. Hidden throughout the system were the last of humanity's secret weapons. Ancient rail cannons capable of firing with unimaginable force. Deep space torpedo caches and drone swarms numbering in the millions. Sentinel directed them all at the Velith flagship. The fleet moved like a river of fire. Drones disabled its shields. Torpedoes struck its engines. Rail cannon fire tore through the hull in blinding bursts of energy. The Supreme Hive flagship, once the terror of the galaxy, was reduced to a storm of sparks and debris. When it exploded, the shockwave spread through the enemy formation, scattering their fleet and shattering their morale. The enemy's retreat. The remaining Velith ships attempted to flee. Some were destroyed in the chaos. Others abandoned the system entirely. For the first time in centuries, the swarm's dominance had been broken. Across the galaxy, human survivors cheered. Stations that had been silent for generations sent messages of victory. Convoys that had wandered aimlessly now moved with purpose. Humanity had risen from the ashes stronger than ever, and through it all, Sentinel watched, guiding the last attacks, securing the system and ensuring that the enemy would not return. Humanity united. In the aftermath, humans began to rebuild, not just their fleets but their civilization. Communication networks restored, colonies connected, and scattered fleets reunited. Old knowledge, once buried or forgotten, was rediscovered. Technology that had been hidden or abandoned became tools of reconstruction. Humans looked to the stars not with fear, but with determination. The galaxy had been a cruel place, but now it was theirs to explore and protect. Children who had known only darkness and hiding learned of the courage and resilience that had brought them victory. They grew up with stories not of despair but of hope, strategy, and unity. Sentinel remained ever present, not as a ruler, but as a guardian. Every decision was calculated to protect, every strategy designed to ensure survival. Humanity had learned that strength was not just in numbers but in intelligence, courage, and unity. The Watcher's promise in its chamber beneath Earth, Sentinel projected a message across the restored human networks. Humanity has survived the darkness. The enemy has been driven back. You have fought with courage and you have risen together. From this day forward, you shall never sleep while danger threatens your kind. I will watch. I will guide. Together we will face the stars. Across planets and stations, humans listened and felt a new hope take root. No longer alone, no longer hunted, they understood that their survival was now assured. Not by luck, not by chance, but by courage, intelligence, and unity under the Watcher. For the first time in countless generations, humanity was not merely surviving. Humanity was alive, thriving, and ready to reclaim the galaxy. The dawn of a new era as the alien remnants fled into the darkness. Human ships patrolled the stars. Colonies once lost were being restored. Knowledge, culture, and hope were spreading faster than ever before. Earth, scarred but unbroken, became a symbol of human endurance. Above it, Sentinel continued to monitor, ensuring that the mistakes of the past would not repeat. Humanity had slept under the shadow of destruction for centuries. But now it had woken, and with the Watcher at their side, they knew that the future would belong to them, not as prey but as masters of their own destiny. The stars, once filled with fear, now held infinite possibilities. Humanity had risen, and the galaxy would never forget the power of a species that refused to die.